Chechnya or Kennedy. I do the main writing for Tamaran.
I also, it does that.
Come on in, strangers. Have a seat. We will regale you with tales of wonderfulness, weather, and clouds, teapots,
Anyway.
and probably none of that.
I also did the artwork for a comic called Shades of Veil, which is, well, it's on hiatus for now, but I've been working with writers for, what, 5 years now?
My turn. I am Donnie Sturgis. I am the writing half of the half here. 2WC Online, we do a webcomic called The Draconian Chronicles, which let me try again. Updates weekly on Mondays. It is an anthropomorphic, or some people like to call a furry comic, although it really isn't a furry comic. But I am the writing half of the dynamic duo that does this comic. Unfortunately, my compatriot is still on his way here, so he will not be joining for his half of the discourse. I also write for a currently on hiatus webcomic called Psychodramatic, because I'm still looking for an artist for that one, because I don't know how to draw, because I'm awful at it.
I'm Chris Himpink. I am the artist half of Sledge Bunny. Sledge Bunny! And until recently was the artist of Project Gravity. I work with Barb Fisher as the writer. She's in the Dewar's Room. Sledge Bunny is a graphic novel which updates roughly weekly about women's roller derby.
I'm Mike Hall. I'm the artist part for our website, Dark Star Studios, on the comic Sick Productions. My writer he retired from conventions a couple of years ago, so you'll never see him ever. He doesn't really exist. And then I also draw and write a comic called Across the Multiverse. All located. So.
Thank you for coming.
Please, we do validate.
Yes.
Check off "so" on your bingo card.
So you're all here for a reason, and I don't know what it is, but we'll try and figure it out all together.
What is the reason you're here?
What kind of problems do you guys run into in collaborating, working between a writer? Because a writer's got this vision of a world.
Communication mostly.
And the artist has a different vision, always. So how do you sort it out?
A lot of it is being aware of what the other person has to do and working out kind of a language that you can use to say, when the writer writes the script, if the artist can let him or her know exactly how much detail they want, or just kind of work out a medium of, okay, how much leeway can I have with this, and how much is like specific details that are writing, like details that need to be in the artwork that are crucial for the story and for the world and that sort of thing. So a lot of it is just sitting down and saying, okay, this is what you do, this is what I do, and fitting it together.
Yeah, when we decided to do the comic, we basically laid on the table, this is what cards I can bring to doing this, the only word I can think of is event, this project. And like I'm a writer, I'm an artist, but I don't want to really do art for the comic. I'll lend in if I need to, if I can't explain something to my artist, then I might draw a picture to say this is kind of what I'm thinking. But
Another thing,
if you guys want to add anything.
Drinking.
Drinking.
A lot of drinking. My writer, I have the privilege of my writer actually being a student of film. He has a degree in film, and therefore he sees it much like movies or TV shows. He has it in his mind when he's writing what he wants. But we've somehow, we let that hurt a long time ago, that I kind of provide what he was looking for, his end game. He looks at it, he's told me on multiple occasions, like, that's actually what I wanted to see. That is what I wrote. I had something else in mind, but after you've drawn it, that's actually what I wanted to see. So we work out pretty well for that, but he's also my best friend, so it can be strenuous at times, because my wife has only described us as him, he's my mistress. So, because I'm always on the phone with him, and we're always trying to figure stuff out, and just sometimes it strays off into different conversations because we don't want to talk about it because we know we're going to disagree on something. But that's kind of in the past. We've melded more together as far as how the writing and art goes together now. But it's tough sometimes.
Yeah, not taking things personally is a good thing to keep in mind. Just because, I mean, I've gotten into situations where I'm kind of afraid to say, well, I think it could work better this way, or visually I think we can have a better impact with it this way because my writer is dead set on this scene working this way, when visually it might not be the best course of action.
Yeah.
So getting used to how the person you're working with thinks. Like, are they a very cinematically minded person? Do they have a good handle on like different shots and angles and the technical aspects of how much effort is it going to take to draw this, and letting them get used to what you, like as an artist, can or can't do, or what is going to be like, okay, I can do this, but give me 3 weeks, because that's actually in the
panoramic view of rooftops of the city.
yeah,
Angled down.
I think it was the commentary or the documentary on the movie Stardust. Neil Gaiman mentions that, okay, I made this flying pirate ship. It took me like 30 seconds to write it down, but as they were making the movie and I went on the set, I felt like I needed to go apologize to every single one of these construction guys because they had to take this thing that I just got off the top of my head and make it into a reality. So understanding the process on both sides is a good thing to work towards.
Stay open-minded and you'll stay friends.
Fisticuffs. Settles everything. Fisticuffs. Slam it down, man. Do it. Actually, there's a blog that Mark Waid does. He writes for Marvel, and I read it on occasion. And he had some really good information in regards to when you're working with an artist and you just write. And it's something I really took to heart because when Danny Valentini, the artist of Draconia Chronicles, and I first started collaborating, it was kind of an effort because I was used to writing prose, writing stories, not just text on a page, Webcomics was relatively new to me, being able to do the scripting and stuff. So I was always trying to write in a certain manner, and everything I did was very wordy and very descriptive, and it was Alan Moore level. If you've never seen a script by Alan Moore who did Swamp Thing, Watchmen, there's a DC book on how to write comics, and they show a script by Alan Moore, and it's so freaking detailed. It's like 5 paragraphs for one panel because he just has all the stuff. And I was writing like that, and it was very difficult sometimes to get some stuff across. And Danny was just like, "Wow, that's just a lot." So, because I was very intricate and detailed in the way I wanted things. I saw it in my head. This is how I want to see it. This is how I want to do it. Mark Waid set me straight. Basically, he said this: when you do a webcomic or when you do a comic of any sort, even though you're the writer and you're writing it and you're crafting the tale, it's not just you who's telling the story. The story is also the artist's job as well. He gets to tell the story just as much as you do. It's a 50-50 effort. So when you're telling that story, you have to allow him some chance to put a little bit of himself in the comic as well. It's not just all about what you and what your words say. You have to give him some leeway as well. So that really made it, really affected me. So all my scripts from that point on have been I'm very simplistic and very sparse with my descriptions. I'm just like, I want this character to do this flying from this angle to do this, and that's pretty much it. And I let him go ahead and what he sees in his head, I let him go ahead and create that just on what little information I give him. And he'll ask me questions here and there, and I'll give him answers. That's pretty much it. You got to keep the collaboration going on. And then the end result, 9 times out of 10, what he does usually looks pretty damn close to what I was thinking anyway. We've got the synergy that we've got going on that's gotten so good that 9 times out of 10 he'll do, and sometimes he'll do better than what I was thinking. I'm like, holy crap, you did it from that. I was thinking from an overhead angle, but you did it from, oh my god, that's freaking awesome. You know, and so it's just a matter of you have to really give, and it's a lot of give and take. It's 50-50. You got to give as much as you take out of it, and you got to remember that when it comes down to it, the artist has just as much right to be able to tell the story as you do.
And from the opposite situation, I have worked with writers who, like, they'll describe a scene and I do the pencils for the page and give it back to them, and they're like, oh, but wait, this thing is supposed to be over here, and it's something that's actually important for the next scene or for the story, that this thing is over here or this thing is in the background of this shot, and they could see it in their head as they were describing it, but they didn't tell me. It was just so natural to them that, oh, of course it's there.
Well, just pencil it in.
Well, you see, that's as a writer, you have to train yourself to remember that just because you're thinking it, you might automatically put it on paper. You have to make sure, you have to train yourself to be able to make sure that any specific details that you want a certain way, you put them in there. And I've had to learn to do that too, because once I backed off, I realized I was missing stuff. I'm like, oh crap, you have to compromise with yourself as well in that regard.
Well, an interesting problem that arises sometimes too, depending on how you're working with the flow of scripts, how they get to the artist. A lot of times, to block out the page properly, they need to know about something maybe 3 pages later to set the scene properly. And sometimes it's really frustrating because you feel like you're sort of working with blinders on, you don't really see the whole scene. So you really run into a lot of those sorts of problems like you're describing if you're sort of just getting the script to the next page, in time to start at the next page.
Not a fun way to work, because the more, I know people like to work a lot of different ways, like some go off the cuff, here's the writing for this gag or this scene or something, have fun with it, or there are people who like to write out the entire story beforehand, before anything ever gets drawn. But either way, getting things to the artist ahead of time is very much appreciated.
We have about 2 years of script written.
Holy crap.
In fact, and we're still writing. In fact, our first 4 months of script is 500 pages.
I quit. Goodbye.
Yeah. And about.
I know, but holy cow.
Catalogs.
What we do is we sit in Gmail, and we write over chat. So we actually end up typing, we use the first letter of the character's name with a colon, and whatever else happens afterwards is denoted into action and whether they're saying something, and then all the descriptions are in parentheses.
Basically role-playing with her DMing and playing bunches of characters at once.
Yes. I think I played 15 characters at one time, and it's like, and described the scene and done all of that. But we've got about 2 years of raw scripts. That includes out-of-character conversation, if we're not in the same room with each other, and all the other junk that is going to be edited out. So I will take my raw script and put it into a program called Caltex.
Got it off the recommendation from the NaNoWriMo website in their resources page.
That allows you, it gives you several different options, or you can put it in the movie script, you can put it into screenplay, you can put it into comic, and it will set up for you your panels and everything like that. So we go through and delineate chapters, where we want the chapter cut off to be, where we want, do we need an extra scene and everything. And I will sit and take the raw script and put it into Caltex, into chapter panels, panel page form, so that I have an entire chapter, which I hand my artist, and then we destroy it.
And I completely ignore everything she's just told me.
Well done.
Yeah. And then we we sit down and we destroy it, and we put it back into panels.
Yeah, one thing I like to do is a whole lot of back and forth. Like, she will send me the finished script, more or less, for the chapter. And then I will do layouts for as much of the chapter as I can and give those back to her. And she can read through it and look at the flow of things and see if I'm telling the story, or if my direction for the artwork is along the correct lines to get the right effect. And then once that's done and settled on, I will transfer the layouts onto my full-size pages and pencil those, and before I ink each one, I will send it back to her to get approval on, which a lot of the times I know she said, oh, I trust you, it's okay, you don't have to worry about it that much, but and sometimes I hold myself up because I go late with the penciling and I can't start the inking until I've gotten it approved. But, I would rather make sure we're on the same page that way before I start finishing the page.
Yeah, I agree. I quit.
Is Caltex open source software or commercial, or what is it?
It's free, but it's not open source. But it's free. It's
CALTEX?
CELTX.com, I think. And yeah,
It's incredibly helpful.
works on like all the different platforms. And,
Yeah.
It'll make you feel like you're a professional because it puts everything in like proper Hollywood
Well,
format.
I've got a script template for OpenOffice. It
Mhm.
works quite well for movie scripts, but it doesn't work well for, you know,
This has
comic
various
strips.
types that will do, and
You
it
can even
does.
storyboard.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
It also gives you a directory, basically. Every character that you input that has lines, it makes like their own little encyclopedia entry.
Yeah, it's like,
So you can go to your catalog and it'll give you places to fill in like character name, age, motivations, role in the story, relationships.
Why did I not know about this? My life is full of
strength,
this.
it should have strength, dexterity.
I'm
and all
adding
that,
this
too,
to my
but,
notes
yeah,
right
it's-
now. 'Cause
Why, God? I've been slaving for years, doing it the old-fashioned
In fact, I
way.
believe there's even an app for iPhone for it.
There is an iPad and an iPhone app.
App for it. Yeah, it'll change your life.
You just have to,
But it's $10 for the iPad.
Okay, but that's like the only time it costs money.
you just have to make sure that both people have the latest updated version of the file, which
And you can
is a nice thing about working in Google Docs, which is the way Chris and I were doing the scripts for Shades of Veil. I mean, I could sit in there and watch him type and comment while he was doing it, but with Google Docs, you never have to worry about whether you remembered to send the script to the artist. So you're always working on the most recent version.
Yeah, the nice thing too about Caltex is, because my artist has it, I can just save whatever I have in Caltex and email the file, and it'll update.
Or if you're familiar with Dropbox, this is a great use for
Dropbox, I
Dropbox.
was thinking, I use Dropbox all the time.
But yeah, and we actually, which I need to work on, started a wiki for the comic, just to compile, just to keep the information straight.
Yeah, so I don't have to go back through the chat logs and be like, okay, what color was this person's eyes again?
Yeah, but wikis
Because-
are such time sinks.
That's why you get somebody to do it for you who's a huge fan. Because they love to do it, and they're pretty psychotic enough that they'll get it done.
We haven't got one yet. Nobody cycled it yet. I mean, I could probably face it.
We can send some psychos your way.
Oh, don't worry. We sent a few.
In fact, please stop staring at me and go see his comic.
You sent a few. I can vouch for that. You sent a few. But they're nice psychos.
Yeah, kind of. They stab you gently
Yes, they stab me while I'm looking.
and caress you after.
I agree with this.
Yeah, that's, speaking of like eye colors and things, that's another good thing that writers have to, or artists have to know about, that the writers may
Always
not even
forgets.
care.
Yeah,
So it's,
I've had a lot of, what's this person's hair color, or what are they wearing? I don't care.
so as long as I get the I don't care, then I'm good to go. But if she had an image like, oh, I thought his hair was brown, then you kind of have to make sure the images match before you go ahead with the design process and things.
You guys are like just perfect. I don't even know. It's like, yeah, throw a dog in there. I don't care what kind of dog, just throw a dog in there.
I'm like, here's the next 5 pages of script. Like, you know, just start working on the next one tomorrow.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
I love how that
flying
works.
the seat of my pants.
I'm like, can I get a script today? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Okay.
a lot of that too.
Woo! I have to draw this very soon. Can you get the script to me? I'm going to a softball game tonight.
That's the
Don't
problem.
want a sandwich.
Yeah. That's why we're trying to maintain the schedule, because the artist is basically the sum of both your bad days and their bad days, and it's like, oh, sometimes you just want to try to get ahead, and it just doesn't happen.
Well, we tried to make sure that we had a schedule that was set out so that we could update decently on set days during the week. So we only,
Until perfectionism kicks in.
yeah.
The day shows are big anyway.
But we write on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and then Mondays and Thursdays are update days.
Well,
If
the comic updates on Tuesdays and Fridays, so Mondays and Thursdays are, since I still don't have a buffer, this mythical buffer that some people are capable of attaining.
What is this buffer of which you speak?
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Yeah.
But,
I think it's PH.
I think the thing is, what's going through your mind is just Danny not being here, speaking like volume.
Oh no, my artist isn't here.
This is
It's
a
like,
perfect example.
oh, he'd have plenty to say on this. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, the nights when I'm trying to finish up the pages to get posted for the update days are Mondays and Thursdays.
yes, which I try to stay out of those days so that things get done, which I'm not always good at, but I try. So just try to very much keep everything out in the open. Keep an open mind. Don't get too attached to anything, because the moment you get attached to something, you'll get insulted by, or wronged, or whatever by your teammate when they have no idea what you're so incensed about, you know, or so angry about. So, you know, I pretty much am like, if something comes up, it's like, okay, let me look it up, or I don't care, or I'm not married to that idea, I think is the phrase that I use a lot.
Yeah, I don't think we mentioned before, our comic is a more or less serious fantasy graphic novel, Lord of the Rings kind of story. So orchestration and directing and all of that stuff is pretty important, more so than it might be for like a gag-a-day strip. So you kind of have to tailor the teamwork to the genre you're working with too.
You do, and that's been actually sort of a changeover for us. Fragile Gravity, which we did for about 7 years, was a gag-a-day, sort of newspaper comic style, black and white strip, done 3 a week, and we switched over to being a full-color graphic novel piece, which is entirely different. So it's been sort of interesting getting trips from her, because I know in her mind she's still sort of writing them like they're just like slightly longer comic strips, which is fine, because I'm basically sort of managing the blocking and sort of getting them into more graphic novel sort of, you know, comic book page layouts. So it gives me a bit of a leeway there, but sort of funny sort of things. It's like, it's always like 9 panels, you know, at the same time, as if it were sort of the strip that we had been doing. That's just old habits dying hard. It works out fine. It's just sort of been an interesting shift over for us with the new project.
Does anybody have any questions?
For the scripts, do you find a storyboard or just a text base works better, or is it just a personal preference kind of thing?
We are working directly from chat logs, like I said, which is basically in script format already. It's the characters talking, and when they do stuff, we write out that they're doing this stuff. When a scene needs to be described, like a panorama of a city or something, then she does that. And
I say I love that. It's got to be a really nice, quick and easy going on.
It is.
I don't say easy, but it's like it just sort of flows out.
Yeah,
It's like it's quick way to generate a lot.
It's really nice too, because I control the world and all the NPCs. All the characters who interact with the main characters or the plot-centric characters, as well as like the world setting, the weather, the time of day, you know, which I always have to ask, what time of day is it? Most of the time.
Amen, sister.
And then Aaron writes one to two characters. Right now we have he has two characters going on right now, and the same setting. So it's really nice when you just have the characters talking back and forth together because they can take care of themselves.
It drives things pretty
Yes, and it's nice to play off of somebody else because when I run out of ideas, I always have the wild card that I can't control that will get things moving or done or change the plot in a whole different direction. And I don't write with anything in mind specifically, other than I need the characters to get pointed. And that's it.
As far as storyboarding, I work best when I can see what I'm doing. Like when I'm designing characters, I might have no idea what they look like until I get it down on paper and I can say, yeah, this is them, or no, this needs to be changed a little bit. So what I do for the storyboarding is I will take the script, I will chop it into panels. Like, okay, this has to be going on simultaneously with this. This can fit in one panel together. Or this person's reply comes after a pause or something, so maybe I want to change the camera angle a little bit to emphasize that. And I'll just draw lines through the script to kind of block it out. And then I will draw little tiny scribbled thumbnails of not trying to fit it into any kind of panel borders or anything, but just like, this character's here, they're facing this character here, or this panel needs to be from this kind of camera angle, and this person is doing this in the background, that kind of thing. And then I will take all the thumbnails and I will draw a little, I actually print out a copy of the comic template that I use to draw on at print size for manga. And I do the layouts on there, like doing the Tetrising and jigsaw work to fit the panels into the page and see where the page break is and that sort of thing. So I have kind of a complicated process for drawing all this out. But that way I can see exactly how much space is going to go where when the book is printed and how people are going to be reading it. And then I transfer it over onto a full-size page and do the penciling. So that's how I kind of beat storyboards into submission.
Fun thing about working with a film guy is that when we used to live close to each other and I would storyboard, we just kind of talk about storyboard it right there with him. And the best way I always did is I had a moleskin that was a storyboard moleskin, a real tiny one, but I would just sketch it out real fast and show it to him, and he'd be like, yeah, that was it. Definitely we didn't go into a lot, and a lot of times I messed up, but it was still, I like storyboarding in the moleskin because then I can always go back and kind of take a look at stuff. And every now and then I'll send him stuff about if I question it. Like if I'm not, sometimes he'll get like, oh, I didn't like that angle at all, but of course I won't find that out until the end. And they've got a great process going on. We just do everything and then evaluate it. But every now and then I'll try and, catch him early so I don't have to get the phone call.
I can't really speak for Danny on this, although I do know how he does the process. Between the two of us, we don't usually storyboard together, with certain exceptions. I'm mostly just a meat and potatoes, write up the script with the dialogue and everything and send it to him. I've learned, again, based on the advice from Mark Wade, was basically, it's like, I'm kind of in the same boat. I want to get the characters from point A to point B. I'm all about character-driven stories. I'm all about plot. The environment and the way they look and everything, I leave the visual stuff up to him for the most part, unless there are certain exceptions where I'll be like, I really want this person to have this kind of hair or whatever. Now, there are a few occasions, like I mentioned, where we do storyboard together. In those cases, I can't draw worth a damn. So what I do is I grab my Marvel Legends figures, which are like multiple jointed, and I put them in poses, and I take pictures. I was like, this is what I want them to do. Go! And he takes it. He's like,
something like that, Wikipedia once. I mean,
maybe. But I mean, that's what I figured it out a long time, because it was one of those things where I tried drawing, like, every once in a while, I'll have something very specific in a scene or in a panel that I want to see. You know, and I don't ask for much. I just every once in a while, I'm like, I really want to see her do like a scissor kick in the scene or whatever. And so what I'll do is and I used to draw it and be like, yeah, that looks nothing like I want him to do. So he'd be like, what was that, like you got like 2 forks or something going on? What are they doing there? I'm like, oh, that's not what I wanted at all. So what I'll end up doing is like, yeah, I'll take like my Deadpool figure and I'll take like my Spider-Man figure and I'll be just like, I want them to do this. And then, because I can pose figures, that's freaking awesome. I'm like, click, go, you know, and then next thing you know, he's like, oh, I know exactly what you want. And I'll even put it at the angle that I want to see it at, and I'll be like, being all like, and then next thing you know, I'm like, dude, I could do a webcomic where I just take pictures of action. Oh, no, that's been done, never mind. And then when Danny does do storyboarding on his own, if I remember correctly, it's not very intricate. What it is he has a sheet of scratch paper on the side when he's got his big old, plank board or whatever that he draws on. But he'll do his storyboarding. He'll just kind of like she said, thumbnail stuff and just little like stick figures into how he wants stuff to do, and then he'll transfer it over to the big thing. So that's the extent of storyboarding as far as we go. I'm kind of.
Here's one of my pages. I don't know if you can see or not, but you can see the template outline, which is like the I don't know. Well, it's the current pages.
Oh, okay, never mind.
But
You have to look at it from afar.
well, I write in all the dialogue, and I try to make the character like stick figures.
We call it stick figure theater.
Yeah. I try to make the stick figures distinguishable as the different characters. So I can like take the entire chapter in this kind of format, hand the pack of papers to my brother and say, here, read this, and see if it makes sense. And like if there's any point where he's not sure what they're doing, or he thinks something needs to be explained a little bit better, if he ever gets confused, then I can look at the place and say either, oh, it's going to have these kinds of details added when I pencil it, so that'll clear that up, or think, well, maybe I need to add another panel here and show this person doing this a little better. So that's one benefit of laying it out like that.
Anybody else have any questions? Come on, you guys want to know some?
Please don't tell me we're that thorough.
Earlier you mentioned that it was a learning process and going to work with your compatriot, who would be an artist and writer.
I don't remember that at all.
You don't remember that? Okay, well, let's pretend that. I was wondering, what was the one thing that you've learned most from working with your co-worker? I'd actually would put that to the entire panel to see what is the one thing that you've learned.
Fisticuffs. Okay. I've learned how to fight for my life. No.
Also, with drinking is already.
I was going to say, refer back to the drinking comment.
I kind of already touched upon this. The biggest thing and again, the biggest lesson I learned through this whole thing is thanks to Mark Wade, and that's really, I can't be so controlling and so, wanting to have my hands on every aspect of how the story is told. The story is when you're working with an artist, the story is now told by 2 people, and you have to allow the story to be told by 2 people, not just the writer. I think that's the biggest lesson that I've garnered from it, and I think it's really helped us exponentially, because I mean, it's like before when I had the big long descriptions and I wanted everything intricately detailed, it really put a huge confining clamp on him, because he had to work within the confines of everything that I had. He wasn't free, it was I'm stuck. Weird. But once I let up on that a little bit, actually quite a lot actually. And really left a lot of the visual and designs and character designs as far as how to look and stuff to him, and some of the plot points even. It's become much easier to work with him in that regard, and I think the communication flows better, and I just think the process flows better.
I agree with that, because that was the one thing that I always had a problem with, because I would get text, I would get the script in chunks. I mean, it was just chunks, and I was like, there's not going to be any room for pictures in here. I said, we're going to have to make the comic just the biggest comic ever, because I can't, I mean, it's like I would have just like this text, and the character would be kind of like, he'd be kind of like, So, and I would just be like, oh my God, I went to all this trouble to draw this panel, and now there's nothing going to be there, which is kind of what their process is so much with it, because they're working back and forth, where I would get the script, draw it, and then realize this was a bad idea. And
Running a comic? Absolutely.
So,
Yes, sir.
so we worked on that, and we fixed some of it. It's still not perfect.
There's a dialogue a while back I remember seeing between Michael Straczynski and some other science fiction author. I can't remember who it was. And they were both talking in a panel sort of discussion like this about newbies that are coming in from the novelist world to write their first movie script. And they could always tell, because when they handed them the first script, there would be 2 or 3 lines of dialogue with maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs describing the scene. And he said, leave the camera people and the director to do their job.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Same thing.
They're on the bridge of the starship. Fine, leave it there.
Very
Don't
similar.
describe the panel,
And also along those lines, decide how much direction gets left to the artist and how much is the writer's
Sure.
job.
Absolutely.
And like with even with not just camera work, but also like the characters' expressions and how much are you telling with the pictures as opposed to the paper, or as opposed to the words. And work together closely to see, like maybe for this panel you don't really need to say what the character's thinking if the artist can portray just through the look on their face. And just kind of, I would say the most important thing I've learned is communication is everything. Just keep an open line at all times and don't be afraid to question things and make sure everybody knows what page they're on.
I'd say I've learned mostly, I used to be really, really like about my writing and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
But
How do you do that?
I have learned that it's much more fun when somebody else shares it. And that it is, I'm a better writer when I can share it when I have a co-writer. And I've also learned that it is much easier to let go of, like, send the kid off to kindergarten or do whatever, just let them go be their own person. And that was kind of hard at first, but at the same time it was just like, I was happy to let it go because the artist can lend so much more to what I can throw onto a page.
That's Chris, the writer for Shades of Veil, is a very good writer, but he doesn't always think visually. So I would have to ask a lot of questions and try to cram his dialogue, like he was saying, into the panels with the characters and things. And I had to remind him a couple times, let me take this scene. Let me communicate some of this without having to say everything.
Yeah,
It's a process.
I have a lot less of a difficult time. In fact, I have very little difficulty anymore just going, here you go. Here,
It's all about trust. It's all about trust and communication. Those are the two big things.
I've learned something easy. Never get a writer that's favorite movie is Magnolia.
Oh my goodness, you poor soul.
The ensemble's getting out of control.
Oh,
and there's so many people talking. I don't know what's going on. Because that was one thing he said. He said, I like large ensembles like Magnolia. And I was like, I cringed a bit because I knew, I was like, oh, then the 30 characters we have now won't be enough.
Oh my goodness.
So that's just one thing to go out there.
At any given time and point in our story, we have, they're not all together, but we have about 74 speaking characters that have anywhere from minor to major parts in our story.
Well, a lot of them.
But
the story follows this group of people traveling across
So you meet
a country, so you run into some people and sometimes you run into them again. At any given time, I don't know how many characters we've had.
right now,
Sounds like a great cocktail party.
right now we have
I don't know, that could be, that could
We
be.
have 7 characters in one scene. And I play 5 of them. So, but what I found
Then
writing.
she cheats and she writes some of them out of the scene so that she doesn't have to deal with it.
Yeah. Some of them can take care of themselves. You know, usually in the beginning of the scene, I'll say, okay, this guy's taking care of the horses. This guy's gone to collect firewood. This, you know, so I can get rid of the characters who aren't important to the specific topic that people are discussing right now.
You need a number to my writer. This is impossible. Because now I'm just thinking about, yeah, he'll send me something and be like, yeah, put these 15 in there. He'll just put them by name. He'll refer to them by name. So, of course, they're just, I'll put them in there. And then, look at this tree. This is an awesome tree. And then, of course, they're just all crammed in there with all his text. It's like I drew all 15 and they're all behind the speech bubble.
My biggest problem is we have, again, the Draconian Chronicles comic takes place during the centuries-old war between these anthropomorphic dragon girls versus the anthropomorphic tiger girls. You know, and basically it's a war that's been going on for ages. The females are the dominant sex of each species. You know, go girl power and everything. And the problem that I have is every time I'm kind of a student of the Joss Whedon school of writing. Even minor characters end up becoming major characters at some point. Where I'm like background character number 5 that was on panel 5 of page 302. She is now here doing this with this person, and now like she's got a name, and now I've got like 300 characters that I just keep making.
You don't believe in red shirts, right?
I don't. Again, I come from the Joss Whedon school of writing. I think every character should have some type of 3-dimensional aspect to them, because that way you can invest yourself in them, so that way when I kill them, you cry. I want to tug at your heartstrings. I want you to be emotionally invested in the characters, even the minor ones in the background, so that when there's a loss, it means something. Dude, don't even get me started.
We didn't have to bring that up. We could have just
Let's all just have a big cry.
Let's not go there.
I think I'm just going to
I promise I wasn't going to do this.
I've gotten over that hurt.
I never did. I never
He
did.
just dug back in. Don't need a hug.
Oh man, thank you.
All right, wash is in our hearts.
People fucking weird.
Don't worry, Orange is coming back in the next episode as a lockdown.
What? No! Actually, Joss Whedon probably would do that. That's his style.
Scary, isn't it?
He would. He did it to Buffy. I mean, come on.
So, you guys mentioned GChat as kind of a primary way that you communicate. What else do you guys use when you can't get together or anything like that, long distances, or is it just GChat? Is that the main thing?
That's pretty much what we use.
Yeah, sometimes sometimes we play just over GChat, sometimes we're in the same room and we get laughed at by everybody else for typing to each other.
You have a record of it though then.
Yeah, that's actually, sometimes it's more helpful to not be in the same room, because if we're in the same room, she can cheat and say, okay, this is what this camp looks like or something,
Well,
instead of having to write it down so that we have a record to refer to later.
I also prefer being mostly artistic at some points. If I have to describe a location, I will draw a block map.
Nice.
And it'll be like this little block, this little block, this little block, this little block. It's like a dungeon map for Dungeons and Dragons.
Nice.
You know? So that I don't have to say the third tent on the right next to the gatehouse that is catty corner from, that's in the northwest corner of the camp.
Yeah, just have to remember to label them there.
So you just got the grid out. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just got to remember to label them.
Yeah, it's also sometimes helpful being in the same room, because if a line doesn't go across the right way, I can kind of ask, like, I meant it this way, right? Because you can't always explain the tone of what the character is saying, unless you spend like 2 paragraphs trying to emphasize the nuances of what you meant. So
Or you
I
can-
can say like, you took it this way, right? She's like, yeah.
Or you can just say it has a slow and quiet, contemplative tone. That's a good question.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also, well, interspersed with our scripts, we will have like big blocks of out-of-character stuff just to explain and make sure we're talking about the same thing.
We will discuss either the plot or where we can go next, or what the characters are thinking or feeling, or.
And then we have a record of all of that to look back on later. Sometimes it's interesting trying to find it, but that's what the search is.
That's one of the reasons I like GChat most, is just because you have a record. Anything you type in there, so long as you don't set it not to save. Make sure you're on save.
Yeah.
And also, it's a good idea to copy it out to your own text file on your own
Yeah.
local machine.
So I literally just go in when I'm doing the rough, compiling the chat logs into a rough script, is I will just go through, copy, paste into Word, and make sure the pages are numbered. And then I will take out what's in Word and print it out into a binder. So then I can just flip through the binder, okay, here's where chapter 4 starts, and go down through until we get to the point where chapter 5 starts.
That's also a fun way we do editing, is that we print out well, we did that for a lot of chapter 1.
Yeah.
Print out the pages of script in Word, literally chop them apart, highlight stuff that's going in, highlighting a different color stuff that could be in but needs to be moved someplace else, chop the lines apart, rearrange them, and figure out how the
Piece
scene
them
works
back
best.
And then put them in the Caltex.
But yeah, GChat's also good because in Gmail you can label stuff. So I have like different labels for the different sides of the plot, the different threads that are going on. And I have multiple labels for some of them, so you can see exactly where everything fits and find stuff easier.
Nice, great job.
You're going to interrupt the show.
Hello?
Well, that's two now. I think it's now mine.
Right, yes.
Does anybody have any more questions?
With as many characters as you have, do you
I'm in the
keep
panel
a
right now.
Character Bible or character bio book? Or
Yeah,
anything like that?
I said it was a
What
4.
you're saying about the wiki,
Okay.
that's basically the way we do that, or the way we're trying to get things organized.
Or in Caltex, because it has the catalog. You can go in and put people's names in and give them their.
Yeah, I refer back to that sometimes if I can't remember whether this person's supposed to have like dark eyes or what. And also like for height references, okay, how much taller is this person than the person they're talking to?
Yeah, that gets tricky.
Yeah.
Get consistent.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a really good thing to do. It also helps you learn more about your characters and things, because at least in Caltex, do they have a blank for the character's favorite color? They have something, they have blanks for different things.
I think there's a way to custom fields ultimately, but
Yeah, but I mean, you can talk about anything you want in Caltex about that character, and then whenever you
Sorry,
type
got cut
that
off.
character's name in your,
Say hi to the panel, Danny.
Hi, Danny.
It's my artist. It's my artist. He's on the phone. You're in the panel.
He keeps his artist crayon in a so tiny little box.
Can I have food now?
Someone call the police.
You're a failure.
Chris Emping just said you're a failure.
That was Mike, but I'll take it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mike said you were a failure. I was looking at the wrong person.
Come on, go to that.
Whatever. As long as he knows.
I don't think the world isn't in this room right now. It's just a couple of people, so.
It's all 3,800 of us.
Yeah, right. Oh, sure.
What'd you say?
We speak for the world.
You are the general consensus that he sucks. So that's what we're getting at here. What a great way to end this panel. I think.
The true spirit of the writer-artist relationship.
Yeah, that's, I was going to say the exact same thing, actually. You totally nailed it. Cool, we got pre-orders for the 2011 Draconian Chronicles calendar for those who heard that. All right.
It won't be 6 o'clock. Try 8.
Yeah.
They don't believe you, Danny.
We'll see tomorrow, Dan.
What's that?
I heard zucchini. Zucchini and...
I think you knocked him dead. Good job.
Did you say you had a steak on this face?
I didn't realize Danny was actually the teacher for the peanut.
Anyway, I'm gonna let you go because I'm interrupting this wonderful panel, and I just wanted to kind of, at least unofficially have you in it. So let me let you go. All right, man, take it easy. Bye.
Does anybody have any more questions? We have like 3 minutes.
We missed the name of your comic.
Oh, the name of our comic is Tamaran. It's T-A-R.
T-A-M.
T-A-M-U-R-A-N.
I was about to say, oh shit, I put it wrong
Did
in
you
the
see
program.
that? That is the first thing I've seen him even remotely mess up on. Everything has been perfect.
I'm dyslexic, so.
And
And you're the writer?
you have business cards, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
And we also, our booth is table 46.
And we have the first chapter and prologue of our comic in print, so it's there for sale. And
Or
we
if
have-
you just want to flip through
yeah,
it.
if you want to look at it. So.
Yes?
So there's 2 questions. Since you're using the codex, do you know how to merge 2 characters when you had a typo?
Oh, yeah, that is annoying about it. Because it sort of auto-generates things in the catalog.
Yeah.
I think you really just have to go through and sort of prune them out of the catalog.
Yeah, you have to go
unfortunately.
through and delete it.
And manually, yeah. I know. I wish there were a way to do that automatically because I've got ones where they're like, character name with a stage direction as characters. It's like,
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I've had that too. I had one character that had 3 entries, and I had to go through and delete the other 2. Luckily, I didn't put anything in them. But you can pretty much, at least for the bodies of text, you can copy paste over things and just delete the other profiles. So.
It's like the only problem.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys very, very much for.